It's like this lady right here. She just wants to take off the shoes. I'm guaranteeing you that she wants to take off her shoes, but they can't. So how do you relieve pressure on your head? Can anyone give me an answer? Do you guys massage your head, Tylenol, aspirin, smoke marijuana? How do you guys do it? The only way I know is through CFR. So I'm going to tell you something that you guys are going to find very outlandish. So first, I want to give credit to Dr. Adam Del Toro. Adam Del Toro is my mentor. He's the one that taught me CFR. The original person, one of the original people that did it, his name was Richard Stober. He was a naturopath, I believe, an osteopath, and a chiropractor. He taught at chiropractor school. And his name to fame was he treated babies and kids with autism. He helped people that had cranial subluxation. As you can see, their heads, if you could admit that these heads don't look the same as other people's heads. We're not saying that he cured dwarfism. We're not saying that he cured Down syndrome. But what the stories are, and it's written document, that the Down syndrome kids acted more normal. That genome of there was probably still there, that was effective, but they acted more normal. Wouldn't you think someone with Down syndrome would want as much head space as possible? One thing I was explaining to someone today, imagine all the babies that are shaking their heads and they're just pounding their heads. They have a cranial subluxations. What do parents do? They put helmets on them. They're begging for help. I will let you know that there are many accounts of dwarfism, people that had dwarfism growing taller than 5 feet, because he activated the central nervous system. He gave more room to breathe. Doesn't this head look like it wants to have more space? Now, how do you get cranial subluxations? Okay, it's pretty obvious. You get hit in the head. It's pretty obvious. You guys now know that there's many bones in the heads, and if you hit your head on one side, all the other bones are affected. You don't even have to actually hit your head. You could have a whiplash injury where your head touches nothing, but that brain gets shooken around. Imagine if you're wearing wool socks and you were wearing really tight shoes. And your socks are wet. Now they're shifted around, right? You don't feel comfortable. You just want to take off that shoe, but what if you can't? And that's what a cranial subluxation feels like in the head. And it presents in many different ways, and I'll give you the presentations really soon. Cranial subluxations could happen at any age. As you see, it could happen during birth. This is usually what happens when someone gets these forceps birth or vacuum extractions. The head gets like that way. I mean, that pretty much is self-explanatory in the picture, right? So that being said, the biggest thing I would like to tell you guys is one of the best ways, something to take home, to have a natural birth is through chiropractic. It helps give the pelvis more room for the baby to breathe. Healthy nutrition. Sometimes people have issues with their diabetes, nutrition, so healthy nutrition, and just simple exercises for pregnant moms. The last thing we want is your baby to go through C-sections or forceps or vacuum extraction. Natural birth is the best thing for babies, for all you upcoming people that might want to have babies. All right, we're going to talk about more anatomy. This is called the palate right here. This is really important right here. These were all the teeth attached to. This is where your tongue touches a lot. This is the bottom of the head. Once again, I got to talk to you later because I'm not sure if you guys know what this is. This is what we're looking at. We're going to talk about the palate, and we're going to talk about it a lot. And I want to show you right here. Once again, this is the sphenoid where my mouse arrow is. The only way you get to sphenoid is through the nose. This right here is the pituitary gland. This controls all the hormones. So I've helped a lot of people with hormonal issues because all of a sudden, if this thing right here is a little sack the size of a rice is squeezed, what do you think will happen to your hormones? We're talking about, anything, female hormones, male hormones. People, they call them miracle worker. I don't want to say that, but that's what they say to me. One thing I also want to let you guys know, let's go backwards, is there's actually, this is a new one for a lot of you guys. Each nose hose you guys have has 3 what we call turbinates. Turbinates in Latin, translated from Latin, means tunnel. So the turbinate here, the turbinate here, and the turbinate here. So when I put the balloons in, I have to pick which turbinate. So people like, well, how many times do I need to do the balloons? I'm like, well, I gotta put it in each turbinate. So if you wanted to do all CFR at one time, you would do 6, like 1, 2, 3 on one nose and 1, 2, 3 on the other nose. Now, we're not going to really get into the treatment unless you guys ask me later, but I don't do all 6 turbinates in one visit unless someone really wants it. So that's once again, that's turbinates. This is the palate. You can see your tongue right here. This is the sphenoid right there. Once again, this is from the bottom view. This is the palate right here. And look at this. This is the sphenoid right here. Note that this is very important for you to understand the anatomy. Okay, so the second anatomy I want to teach you guys is septum. This is that line that goes up and down your nose. Okay, and once again, these are the turbinates right here. 1, 2, 3. And once again, you might hear the term deviated septum. This is what it means. That's up and down your nose right here. It's crooked. And I'll tell you why that is and why that is soon. And once again, that's a septum right here. And this is a perfect example of a deviated septum. Okay, so another indication, and I know the next few slides you're going to think, is this a dentist? I am not a dentist. How I know if you need CFR, how I know if you have cranial subluxation is by looking at the palate. Remember where I showed you where the palate is? Well, if the palate is off, the teeth will be off. Now, I know you guys aren't dentists, but I'm going to show you a few things that are completely wrong. Something I would never want to see if I had a child. You see these white things right here? These are called exostoses. And these ridges right here, these are called exostoses. If you guys look yourself in the mirror, you guys see these bumps later today, you guys look in yourself in the mirror, open your teeth, and you see these bumps right here, as white as they are, as rigid as indication that you guys are probably grinding your teeth at night, or you guys are probably clenching your teeth at night. That means... Yeah.
Fine. Do you mind pressing hide on that little square right there? That way we can see it better.
Oh my God! I didn't even know you
can see that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
first timer, obviously. So that's very bad, and this child cannot breathe right. Okay, because her palate's really small, or she has a cranial subluxation. Another thing I want you guys to know is, and you'll see this with a lot of people, is this is called the mandible right here, the jaw, basically. If I interchange the words, this mandible is very retracted. This mandible is supposed to be further out a little bit. And I'll show you more pictures later. But once again, this child is having issue. And once again, she has an underbite right there. And exostosis is her teeth are fine. I can't tell if she has cavities or whatever. That's the point. The point is I could tell that she's having a hard time breathing at night. Moms come to me and go, hey, my kid snores. The doctor says, the MD says it's fine. I'm like, that's not normal. The snoring is another indication that you have a cranial subluxation. Once again, this is a mandible right here, and that's very retracted. That's another thing. Her teeth are messed up because her palate is narrow, and I'll show you some narrow palates later. Let me tell you why we have narrow palates. The first one is this called the Gerber Generation. In the 1700s, 1800s, long time ago, we didn't have Gerber. People didn't grind up their food and give it to babies. Babies actually use their fingers, grab little pieces of carrots, and start suckling on them or chewing on them. Right now, we grind up things, we give it to babies through sippy cups, spoons, or whatever. All which you could debate, but from a dentist tells me, really bad for the baby's breathing and for teeth formation, as evident right here. This is the baby's teeth right here. Oh, this image was brought to me. I went to a seminar by a gentleman named Dr. Tim Bromach. He's an anthropologist from NYU. All the other pictures I didn't get credit for, those are basic pictures from Google. I just need to give credit where it's due, or else some kind of copyright might happen. Tim Bromach is an anthropologist, and one of the most fascinating stories on his seminar was that there was a group of mothers in some kind of refugee camps, and they didn't have good baby food. The babies wouldn't eat it. So they breastfed the babies till 6 years old. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what they did. And that's probably what a lot of people did back in the days. And the kids, their teeth structure were perfect. Their breathing was perfect. And this is the big one. Their wisdom teeth grew in. How many of you guys? How many people listening to webinar or whatever it's called had their wisdom teeth removed? Why did your wisdom teeth get removed? Did the body just say, "Hey, we're gonna give you some teeth, and you're gonna have to remove it"? Like, it didn't do that. Your body was supposed to have those wisdom teeth eventually to replace teeth. The body's a very smart thing, right? This is why babies have a narrow palate. As you can see right here, this baby is pushing up into the palate. This is the palate right here. Pushing into the palate, there's a septum right here. That septum now, as you know, babies have very malleable heads. That septum now is now getting crooked. This is why, pushing right up. And this is from, once again, Tim Bromad. Dr. Tim Bromad is an anthropologist, not a dentist, not a chiropractor, from NYU. This is, once again, we didn't have bottles in 1700. We didn't have bottles in 1800. This is a new invention. This is an abnormal way for a baby to take in milk. And you see there's air issues for this baby right here. A lot of these images on Google I found on a very specific dentist that work on breathing issues. I found on this website. Once again, this looks normal to you, but this is very bad for me. She's sucking in air. This is really endangering her palate. Is not forming her teeth. There's a great example right here. If your child or your friend or whoever grows up with a deformed palate, they're going to have breathing problems. Not only will they have breathing problems, they're going to have neurological problems. You can see this girl looks like she has a condition called ptosis. And if you don't even believe me, imagine what would happen if she grew up to be 15 or 16 without these braces. Look how her eyes would be. Look how much more attractive she is. This was founded on some dentist's website. This dentist was one of the few dentists. You don't see a lot of them that expand palates. So we're going to talk about expansion in palates really soon and braces real soon. But once again, you see here, this is called exostosis right here. This baby, you grind your teeth because your body is having a hard time breathing. You can see the exostosis here, and you could definitely see if your palate is narrow, this will happen to your front teeth right here. And I think this is very profound. This person did not, from what I know, this is just a random photo from the internet from the dentist. But as you can see, this a narrow palate can cause a lot of issues. This is, to me, very profound. I could definitely help cases like that. I co-manage with dentists all the time in these situations. This is my patient. She had braces about 3 times. She has breathing problems. She is very tired because she can't get air. They narrowed her palate with braces. So yes, one of the biggest problems we have are braces. Am I saying braces are bad? I am. I could argue with a lot of dentists and say braces are bad, except for the dentists that actually know what they're doing. For example, I have braces on right now, but my dentist expanded my palate first. So I would stop grinding, I would stop snoring, and then he aligned my teeth. You can see right here in her tongue right here, her tongue does not have enough space. So her tongue is pushing into her mandible right here. I mentioned to you guys the mandible before. It needs to expand, and I wish I showed you the side of her face, but for privacy purpose, she is a minor, so I had her do this. So I didn't want to ask too much from her. But this is a great picture. She has a mandible. Her mandible is retracted like the picture before. Her tongue has no room to move. She had braces, and guess what happened? Her body says, nope, your palate's too small. We're going to grow these adult teeth right here. They gave her braces when she was a child. She shouldn't have had them. She should have had her palate expanded so she could breathe better and everything. She has all sorts of problem right now. It's really sad. She's a beautiful young woman that has problem. She's like 14. Here is the perfect example of a narrow palate, as you can see right here, and you see the exostosis right here. And you see what happens to teeth when you have a narrow palate. When you have a narrow palate, once again, the palate's right here. The septum is right here. So if you have a narrow palate, that septum's going to be deviated, and you're going to have a hard time breathing. And breathing, once again, I'll get to, will cause a lot of issues soon. What this dentist did was they expanded her jaw. Surprise, surprise. Her teeth grew in the way they were supposed to grow in. from an orthodontist, as you can see. Why is this happening? Okay, I might have missed a slide, but here is what happens with cranial dent. Here you go. Just watch it. I'll play it again. She's going through a year of treatment. So this is from Dr. Jeff Mursky again from San Diego, one of my mentors. I know that looks like it's been photoshopped, but look at the way her eyes are opening up. Look at the way her ears are opening up. Look at her lips. Headaches. She complained about headache, migraine, vertigo, all sorts of condition. This is through a year of time. Once again, that's her before. And we're going to watch it a little bit more. We're almost done, just another 30 seconds. And you see this is the change that's happening. Her eyes were sucked in. Her lips were really tight in. A lot of headaches, a lot of tinnitus, which means ringing in the ears. Let me present again. Sorry, this is new to me, this video stuff. This is from Dr. Del Toro. I had to show you that video first, or I should I'm photoshopping. This is from a guy that saw Dr. Del Toro for about 2 years. This is what we call a beanhead. You see how tight he is? Complain about migraines, headaches. Saw multiple chiropractors. Nothing wrong with other chiropractors. I love chiropractic, but if a chiropractor can't fix your headaches after a couple, like if he's not progressing after a couple of visits, he needs to find a different chiropractor or a different solution, right? And this is what happens to him. He's a much more happier person. His attitude changes. Much more happy sleeping and breathing, which I could guarantee most people have. All right. We're going to talk about sleep, and we're almost done. Hang in there, guys. How do you know if you're not sleeping right? Now, there's two things I want to talk about. There's a thing called sedation. Sedation means you get drunk, you smoke a lot of weed, you pass out for 8 hours, you wake up. You're not feeling great after when you wake up, do you? That's not sleeping. You're sedated. Like Michael Jackson, he got sedated. I'm not saying that if you have memory issues that is due to cranial fixation. I think you will. It's what we call indications, which means this might indicate that you have memory issues. I'm not saying I could cure your memory issues. I'm not saying I could cure your sex drive. I'm not saying I could cure your high blood pressure. I'm just saying one thing to look at is your cranium, which is, once again, something that controls everything. However, I can definitely tell you that everyone that came into me with all these conditions right here, I have helped, and I definitely help with CFR. My girlfriend's roommate doesn't sleep through the night because she snores. She has sleep apnea. She can't remember a dang thing. She doesn't want to get CFR. She's too afraid of it. I don't blame her. She's super moody. I know for a fact she hasn't slept 8 hours straight for over 20 years because she has a DVA septum. I know for a fact if she just had one night, if she had a real true sleep, her mood would be changed and we would like her. If you don't sleep, you're a weakened immune system. I haven't slept well for the last 3 days because I've been working these PowerPoints. I had 2 hours sleep every night for the last 3 nights. I feel sick. You need to get proper sleep. One of the biggest things I ask my patients to know they're healthy is like, how much do you sleep? If you don't sleep right, your organs fail. It's very well known that people with diabetes, my dad had the worst diabetes and he snored so loud you could hear it outside the house. If you're not sleeping, there's no way you're going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to have concentration. And the number one reason for high blood pressure, without fail, is scientifically proven, is sleep, getting proper sleep. People with sleep apnea typically have high blood pressure. They typically have weight gain if you're not sleeping. Once again, people come in with all sorts of conditions, and I help them with CFR. I'm not saying I can cure everything. I'm just saying it's worth a try. You're resetting the whole body. This was taken from healthline.com. I literally just typed in Google sleep deprivation side effects, and that came up. I'm sourcing that. I'm giving you that site as information, and this is everything I was taught to as well. I'd like to give you guys as much facts and not theories as possible. This is from Healthline. This is from, I think this is from sleepapnea.com or something. You can totally find. You look up. Every morning you should feel fresh and awake. Every morning you should wake up and not feel like you need to drink a gallon of coffee. They say I know I have the website here. I have the source just in case. one day someone might try to sue me. I got it from American Sleep Apnea Association.com. They say the most common reason for people that don't sleep properly is general sleep disorder. Once again, your sleep disorder could be happening from anything. You could be drinking too much caffeine. But look at the number 2 reason, obstructive sleep apnea, aka deviated septum or other parts of the nasopharynx. And if you're getting too much sleep, I know people that have to sleep 12 hours a day. They are suffering. They're not getting the real REM sleep that you're supposed to get to if you're able to breathe right. When you watch someone sleep, do you see how they breathe really heavy? They're breathing really heavy. Your body needs the air, but if you're obstructed, there's no way you're going to get great sleep. We talked about real sleep versus sedation. If you're using sleep aids, if you could try sleep without sleep aid. So basically, if you could fall asleep normally, you're good. But if you're using sleep aids, you're not actually sleeping. You're being sedated. So you're not getting that, what we call REM sleep. REM sleep is one of the most important part of sleeping. It usually happens at the 6th or 7th hour, according to Dr. Shirazi, my sleep. He's the sleep clinic doctor in LA. I'm going to source him on that. And he says you won't really hit REM sleep unless you sleep at least 7 hours uninterrupted. At REM stage, magic stuff happens. It's called HGH, not the steroid. It's called human growth hormone. This is where you heal. You could tell have you ever seen someone with black eyes, like black eyelids? They're all wrinkly. That's because they're not sleeping most likely. But when they sleep, all of a sudden their skin looks great. Everything's great because they actually have real sleep, not sedated, drunken, pass out night sleeping, right? Something I want you guys, this is a gentleman named James Nestor. You can look up on YouTube, just put in James Nestor on YouTube. I absolutely love him. I have no affiliation with him. He has no idea what I do. I doubt he knows what craniofacial release is, but he talks vastly. The book's only $10, but I recommend just watching his YouTube videos. He talks about how important nasal breathing is. So earlier I told you guys, how do you know if you're breathing right? I challenge you guys to close your mouth and walk a couple blocks with your mouth closed. If you suffer, if you can't do that, then you're probably having obstructive airway in your nose, and you're probably mouth breathing, which James Nestor would tell you is horrific for you. Before I move on from James Nestor, like I said, just check it out. Nose breathing is really important. Most people breathe through their mouths, and they don't know it. All right, time for questions. If you have any questions, let me know. I don't necessarily need a whole bunch of craniofacial release patients, so you're more than welcome to go to craniofacialrelease.com and find a doctor nearest you. I don't know where you guys are. I'm sure there's doctors all over the entire world. Dr. Adam Del Toro is going around the world and looking at them. However, I gotta let you know, I would love you to feel free to ask me questions about doctors. If I know them, I'll tell them if they're good or not. Just like mechanics, just like chiropractors, there's good ones and there's bad ones. Okay. Thank you for your time. I hope you guys were staying awake throughout the whole process. Gabe, what should I do now?
Yeah, so go ahead and come on back. You can end your screen share, and we can just chat for a bit. So you mentioned Dr. Adam Del Torto, and he's actually a friend of mine. I actually met him first and actually got some craniofacial release from him personally back when I was in chiropractic school way back in the day. So like I was exposed to it, just like, you know, it's kind of like I remember like walking into a room and it's a bunch of people like all surrounding this one guy, and like one guy's laying down. I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing? It's like at a chiropractic seminar or conference or something. I forget which one it was. And they're like, oh, we're ballooning, and I'm like, what do you mean by ballooning? And they're like, look, yeah, we're shoving this balloon up somebody's nose. I'm like, what? That doesn't look comfortable or safe at all. And they're like, well, yeah, you have to be trained and all this stuff. So like, basically they asked me if I wanted to try it, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it, you know. But it's the weirdest thing, because when you get chiropractic care, you know, it's not uncommon to hear things pop, like in your back, or sometimes your extremities, depending on what kind of chiropractor. But it was the first time I ever heard a pop in my skull, which was the trippiest part. So I got care from Dr. Del Torto a couple times, and we became friends after that. But he's a great guy, amazing guy. Actually, I think I first met him before Chiropractic Rocks, because he had his own convention called
Yes.
Chiropractic Rocks. So I actually went and I volunteered and I helped him out there.
Ah.
But yeah, it was a good time there. Yeah. But yeah, he's an amazing guy, amazing human being, and really wise for discovering a lot and implementing this stuff. So tell us more about your experiences with him.
So he learned. I just want to be very clear about this. You're going to hear. You guys are going to hear like there's other cranial relief, nasal, intranasal procedures. Other doctors do it. The first video I showed you was called nasal specific. I don't video record my patients at all. I'm sure everyone's like, oh, you should do it. I'm like, it's not really my thing, and it's weird. Anyways, so that's me getting balloon, not with CFR, a different technique, but very similar. Enough for you guys to not know the difference. So he learned from he learned a technique called nasal specific, and he integrated a different version. Very important for you guys to know in case you guys start looking around. He does a technique called craniofacial release specifically. That's what's called, but other people will do other techniques. Everyone's different. Once again, there's different, like Gabriel, he did different type of chiropractic technique that I do when he was in chiropractic school. So there's different types of, I just want to be very clear when everyone, if they start looking for chiropractors, that does it, like, hey, you should know they're different. PTs are doing it, but they're not doing craniofacial release. Sorry, I cut you off. Yep.
Yeah. Oh no, you're good. Yeah. I've since left the chiropractic profession. I'm more of a holistic healer now. Mm-hmm. But going back to the craniofacial release though, I think it's interesting because it was actually a technique that was developed by medicine. So it was a medical technique that they used to use, and then they kind of abandoned. They just kind of get left to the wayside, and then like doctors of osteopathy and chiropractors kind of picked it up and kind of started to revive it, but add the chiropractic principles to it to realign the vertebrae of the bone to basically optimize, the nervous system, which is what I'm all about as a biohacker. Mm-hmm. I like to optimize the nervous system. So tell us more about how exactly, because I know you could probably go into more detail of how this helps optimize your brain and make you smarter, because obviously, you said it makes you more normal, but really what that means is your IQ goes up a bit more, right?
Thank you so much. I forgot to mention that, and I'm glad you asked that. So your brain is constantly pumping fluid it's like, I forgot, I didn't find the research on that. It just is constantly pumping fluid. Now, once again, it's like a vessel, right here. And if that vessel is dinked in from a head trauma or whatever, the sphenoid's up or whatever, you're not breathing right, it requires that the circulation, and you're not circulating correctly. So I can only think so hard right now, but like imagine like an engine that's not circulating the fluids incorrectly, it's gonna overheat or something, right? So your body's running on fumes if your brain is not working properly. That's why people get fatigued. That's why people are tired and stuff, and they have the pain and all the other symptoms that I mentioned, and so many more. And once again, it's everything that most people have problems with is their central nervous system. If this organ's not working, we know what the vagus nerve does. It controls breathing, controls digestion, controls all that. If that's impinged, what's going to happen to your digestion? What's going to happen to your relaxation? So it controls pretty much the brain. The central nervous system controls everything that you do. Like I said, people
No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I've helped people with all sorts of conditions. Once again, I'm going to be outlandish. I have guys that come in I have back pain for X amount of years, right? And I went to every chiropractor down the street. I'm willing to try everything. I balloon them. They're like, oh my God, for the first time ever, my back stops hurting. Because once again, where did your back come from? Your first thing that forms is don't quote me this, your central nervous system, I know it's the first thing that forms, but your brain. Who adjusts the brain? No one, right? They're just doing the neck adjustment, side posture, neck, all that stuff. But someone needs to adjust that. So
yeah. And I like that you mentioned, the sphenoid is very unique in that it holds the pituitary gland essentially. So if that gets shifted and there's pressure on the pituitary, and that's the master gland, that means your entire body's going to go out of whack. So super important to make sure that that's properly aligned. And that's why actually there's a couple of people in my life that I've actually recommended CFR to, because they've had head injuries or they have a deviated septum, and I'm like, there's this thing, it sounds really weird, but you really need to try it, because I really think it's going to help you. And sure enough, it always does. Actually, one of the people is in here today. He's actually my dad. If you want, we can go ahead and go into Q&A, and he can tell his story. You guys
are going to get bored if we keep on talking. I would love to interaction.
Yeah, let's get some interaction going on. So my dad actually had like a head injury.
Is it
And
Les? I don't know who your dad is.
so
Is it Les?
it's under Gabriella, but he's there.
Okay.
Hey, you want to come on? His name's Jose. But you want to come on and tell people what happened? Because he had basically like this whole like cascading of effect of stuff that was going on after the head injury, and like he went all over the place. He went to Mayo Clinic, they couldn't figure it out until finally I told him try CFR. And
Did he try it? Did you try it?
You guys want me to share with you? No way, Jose.
you are Jose.
Did you try it? Did you try CFR? I didn't catch
Of course, I did try, and they did it in 3 times. She did 2, 2, and 2, and then on the last session, she retouched my uppers. And
Tell me the experience.
I remember the people mentioning that cracking sound. Well, it's hard to. You have to try CFR to actually get. It's hard to describe. It's almost like it's a noise like, if you step on a whole bunch of
Potato chips.
potato chips or popcorn, there is a like a crunching noise that happens inside of your skull.
Yep.
I wasn't scared because she was careful, and I did hear the crunch, of course, and I was aware of that. That's why I didn't get scared. I know that was coming.
Let me just go over this real quick with you. It's just air. It's literally just air. This is this. And when you pop it, the balloon just goes. And if something opens, is most likely what I mentioned earlier. I'm glad it was the sutures. Those lines are actually expanding so that you're able to breathe more. You're able to think better. So, did you have a positive experience? How besides the actual experience? Yes, guys, the procedure can be a little uncomfortable for some. Sometimes it hurt. I'm not gonna lie. Did you get the results that you wanted from it?
In my case, it helped me. I mean,
what was your main problem?
I had all kind of problems.
I think what you should do maybe is start from the beginning, like start from the head trauma and then the cascading effects.
Correct. Yes, I had a nasty impact on my forehead walking. I hit my head with a beam, and with full force, I was walking just forward in a kind of not walking straight up. I was in a crawl space, so I was, how you say, Gabriel, help me. Not walking on my knees, but
so he was basically crouched, under a crawl space, and he thought he had like a space to move his head up. And so what happens when he got up?
No, wait, no, it wasn't up. It was like right here.
Oh, so it's just like direct impact.
I was wearing a little hat with a visor. I didn't see the beam, and I walked into the beam. The next thing I know, I feel not only the impact in the forehead, but the pain in the back of my head. Like in the upper cervical. In the upper cervical, I felt a big pain there. So over a 2-month period, things got so bad that at one point my heart stopped. I ended up in cardiology, and they wanted to put a pacemaker on me.
There you go. Put pressure in the right part of the brain. Stops working organs, right?
But then
it was pretty bad too, because I was there in the hospital with him, and like there was an internist, and my dad was like, "Oh, it hurts," and she was poking it, and literally he was hooked up to a heart monitor, and I saw his beats per minute go from 90 to 80, 70. 30, all the way down to all the way down to 20, and I'm like, stop. I told you, I pushed the internist. I was like, stop. I was like, realign your head, and then I started seeing it go back up, and it went back up from 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way back up to 100, and then back to 90, and then he was fine.
Okay, but then after I came out of the hospital, other things happened, So I walk out of the hospital, no pacemaker whatsoever. I was having problems remembering things. I was having problems sleeping. I couldn't sleep more than 2 hours every night. I was in a nervous state all day long. Let's see what else. I had involuntary twitching in my arm muscles and my legs. I had hormonal problems. I got liver problems because my liver enzymes were off. I had 4 hormones that were off. I mean, and I couldn't put it together. It was my whole body was falling apart. It was one thing after the other one, after the other one, after the other one. Out of desperation, after I came back from the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota.
Oh, and tell them what they told you. Basically, he went all the way to the Mayo Clinic, and they basically said Mayo Clinic, and they basically said, "Oh, we just think you're crazy. Just go home."
Well, no, they didn't say crazy. They told me that I was in a very nervous state, and I was so worried that I wouldn't allow my brain to do the normal functions that it had to do because I was like overloading my brain with worries.
Other than that, they're right, but not right.
Yes.
I mean, they're basically blaming the patient.
Let me
they're right? Because you are nervous because you have aberrant pressure, but they didn't know what the aberrant pressure came from. And it's really funny.
Correct.
I've never talked to this gentleman before, and he pretty much regurgitated my slide where it says these are the problems you could have.
I told them, of course, I'm nervous because I've been in I saw different specialists. I came all the way down to here, and I'm nervous because nobody can figure out what's going on, and I have all these, problems. Like I didn't, if they tell me, well, you worry too much, that's why you have more involuntary movements of your body, or you can't sleep right. Okay, fine. So what about the hormones? What about the liver functions? Did I
make it up in your head?
Right. Did I make it up? I mean, it comes up in a lab, Also, one thing, when I started to see a chiropractor after I came out of the hospital, I remember one of my complaints was that I felt in my head, I felt like if my brain was getting crushed against my skull. Like I told them, there is something missing, like a cushion of air, something needs to, be between the skull and the brain, and that's missing. I felt that literally that my brain was being like pushed against the skull. And I say, well, this is not right. I never felt like this before. And I think that was the cerebral spinal fluid that was not circulating correctly.
You're pretty much saying everything I just said. I've never met this gentleman in my life. So thank you.
Yeah, well, he's my dad. So.
Yeah, I've never met you in my life. Just read my slide and regurgitate that. Okay.
And also, I think that with the impact, maybe the pituitary was not sitting correctly because I did a CT and of my brain, with many other CTs and other things. I got enough radiation in that year for a lifetime, but. It showed that that the space where the pituitary sits on the the sphenoid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
Okay, it was unusually large.
Yep, swollen.
So unusually large. Well, so that's why I decided to do the
thank you
craniofacial release because I thought that something was off right there on my skull.
Well, I can't imagine your life without it. To be honest, I think you would have been miserable on every kind of drug in the the market, Valium, Vicodin, all that, just to keep you alive, and it's so sad. So
and thanks to God, I looked around. And the only person certified to do it was either in 1.5 hours from my house. I mean, I live in South Carolina. I had to go to North Carolina, or there was two doctors in North Carolina. One, in one direction and the other one in another direction. But either way, it was 1.5 hours. And I said, I don't know if I can put up with all this driving. I called their offices, and they told me how they normally proceed in their office, how often I had to go, and I don't know if I can do it. So I waited 6 months, I believe, and then I went again in the website because there is a list of certified practitioners that can do that. If they are not certified, I will not recommend it.
No, no.
Right. And so,
It's a different technique.
right.
Yeah.
So lucky for me, someone moved from New York State to South Carolina.
Good.
And so when I saw that, I called her right away, and she was like within 30 minutes from my house. So I said, she was very accommodating with, the time and the dates and all that. And
I'm super happy. I'm going to reach out to her. I'll reach out to her. I'm sure she wouldn't mind a shout out if you want to say her name.
Yeah.
Mariah. Oh, what's the last name?
It's Russian.
It's a like a Russian name. I can't remember the last name.
I'll find it right now and I'll get back to you. But
first name is Mariah with a Y.
I'll find out real soon. But I wanted to mention to you guys earlier, like I kind of mentioned it briefly, was I only do 2 holes per day. But if someone was driving, people have flown in from far, far away. And I just do all 6 of them at a time. It's intense, but they'll do it. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll stay for a night and they do it again a couple more hours.
Right. Most practitioners will not do it like that. I was hoping to find one that would, especially if I had to travel a long distance. And I even thought, and maybe I have to drive to California. Take a flight to California to get it done.
I was telling him to go to Adam Del Torto. At the time. But the interesting thing with his case, though, is that he literally tried everything that he could in the medical world first. And I kept telling him, hey, you have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. And he's like, no, I don't want it. It looks scary. But then finally, after trying all the other stuff and that didn't work, it absolutely failed. He finally broke down. Was like, all right, I'll do the CFR.
Well,
he found Mariah, and then that was the pivotal moment when things shifted for him, and he started getting better. But prior to that, all the other stuff he tried, I mean, the chiropractic stuff helped, but all the medical stuff didn't help at all. It just made things worse, if anything. But this helped a lot.
It's like a breaker to the house, guys. Just reset it. It'll work. Yeah. The lights will turn on. Yeah. Just letting you guys know, her name is Mariah Napora.
Ah, there you go.
Living Water Wellness, and I'll reach out to her and go, hey, check out this video.
She actually, when I met her, she was just moving from Upper New York, and so she didn't have the practice set up. She had a,
got it.
A nice office, in-home office. No, not a garage. No, in-home.
Nice.
A very nice in-home office, actually, well set up and all that. It's just that she was looking for the right place to open a practice.
I have no problem with that. I want to be an in-home office, but the laws say that I have to be zoned for business, so I can't get really paid without that. But yeah, I'm really glad because I'm glad you told your story, and it's really sad what people go through. That was how long? It sounded like you went through like a year or 2 of suffering. Is that what it sounded like?
I went.
Suffering.
A whole year of suffering, at least an entire year,
plus hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like I think, did you have to sell a house to pay for all the doctor bills?
Well, I wanted to mention that, but I didn't.
Well, luckily, I do have insurance, so the insurance pay a big chunk of that. Otherwise, I'd probably be broke. But not only being broke, it's just dragging the problem for a year. Things that your body not working correctly, everything falling apart and you don't know why, it's like, that's why I say, okay, well, what do I have to lose? I feel like if I'm going to die tomorrow or at any time, so might as well, let's get this done. So was I scared? No, of course not. I had nothing to lose. So, Yeah.
It is frustrating. I have a lot of patients I'm like, you need this, but they're like, no freaking way. I get it. I get why it could be weird, but to me, I'm like, what about what the medical profession used to do, lobotomies and put things
leeches and
all that stuff. And we gotta try, but as I mentioned to people, it's just air. You're like
no, I figure the worst, a good way to describe it, the feeling when you get it done, regardless of the noise. The noise. What you're going to do about it? If you hear noise, it's actually good. It means that things are moving. It's opening up. Yeah. That's what you want. You want to hear the noise.
Yeah, so expanding.
I was actually pretty happy to be able to hear the noise. And the feeling, I read a little bit about, it's almost like when you jump into a pool and you made it a very bad jump and you just kind of go in with your nose, and water rushes into your nose very quickly, and sometimes you feel like a little bit of a burning sensation. You may end up feeling that, and that's because the balloon is expanding your tissue, and it gives you that burning sensation. Kind of, it goes away very quickly.
I mean, I'm sure you would take that any day over suffering for a year. Like,
of course,
it was probably like, I'm not gonna lie, it can last a minute up to 10 of like, wow, that was really weird, But like, the same as you jump in the water and you just swallow a bunch of water, like, oh my god, it lasted that long. In the more severe cases, it can last longer. I had a guy with like closed nose, and I had to open it up, and he's like, wow, that hurt, but I could breathe and I don't care, So it doesn't always hurt,
I liken it to getting punched in the face by a baby.
Yeah, everyone's different. It depends on your injury.
Right.
Does anyone that was a great. Thank you so much. I'm so out. I did not know that was coming. If anyone's watching, I did not see that one coming. It was amazing. That's exactly what we want to hear. Like everything I mentioned, and then last scenario. Does anyone else have any questions, or we could keep on?
Yeah, and if you guys have a question while somebody else is asking theirs, feel free to type it in the chat. Or if you're still online on the stream, you can type it in basically in the comments, and then we'll get back to it whenever we actually see the comments. But if you have a question, go ahead and type it in. I'm gonna go ahead and let Everett ask his question real quick.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I think it was wonderful. So I have a question. Have you ever dealt with pituitary brain tumors?
I have not specifically. However, we have had other providers deal with that. We just, like I said, we don't think it would hurt because we're just shifting below that, and we just want to give it space to breathe. And if you were my patient, if not saying you have it, I would go very gentle at first and just see how you respond.
I just want to check in. I heard some background noise going on, so if you guys have some background noise going on, go ahead and mute yourself if you're not talking.
So, just so you guys see where things are. God, I wish I could get this off. There's the pituitary gland. I don't know if you see that. It's blocking things. I don't know. Whatever. And right there is a sphenoid. So it'll be right next to the sphenoid when we adjust that, and it'll hopefully help that work. I am in no way ever going to say it's going to cure any kind of cancer whatsoever.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last part you said.
I could never ever say that, hey guys, anyone talking in the background?
Oye, porque fui a la escuela.
Come on, guys.
Ayer.
I think it's live.
Yo la puse allá.
Gabriel.
Gracias.
Sorry, I'm here. Sorry. Yeah, we got it.
Okay, cool.
We got it.
All right, Everett. I would never say I'm not in my world where I ever talk about cancer and how I can cure it. But I think any kind of movement for it, any kind of circulation, extra circulation for the pituitary will help it in any way. And in my world, motion is lotion. Any kind of movement's good. Whoever has a pituitary tumor, I'm really sorry to hear. But I just think that moving would help, and it's worth a try. They have cancer. My dad died of cancer. I would try anything.
Yeah, so I have a giant pituitary tumor. It actually looks like on the MRI that I have 2 brains. That's how big it is. So I have all kinds of issues. The sleep apnea, the energy, the fatigue, the hormone problems and stuff like that. So I was just more or less wondering if that would help, or if going for like a chiropractic adjustment would help.
The answer to your question, in my world, I think we should do as many. This is called biohacking, right? So any kind of stimulation to your nervous system is where it's at. So chiropractic will help to stimulate the spine. I think you should totally try it. I think you should totally try. I can't tell you. I don't know what your goal is. If your goal is like, hey, well, like cure my pituitary, I'm never going to say that. I think it will help. I'm not going to tell you that it is. For example, if someone's like, hey, can you help my snoring? I'm like, I help a lot of people snoring, but that person can't. I could never, ever, no doctor could ever guarantee anything. But in my personal opinion, it's worth a try.
Would you recommend somebody in Massachusetts?
Oh, I could look that up for you. I have the website open right now, actually. And then someone else had a question, and I'll get to you soon. Massachusetts.
Yeah, I definitely have the same recommendation as Twang on that in this case as well.
Yeah, I don't see anyone, is Massachusetts next to New York?
Yeah, that's like about a 4 to 8 hour drive, depending upon where.
So if you go to craniofacialrelease.com, there's Massachusetts not on there. There are other techniques that are very similar, like nasal specific. Not something I learned it, but we got to kind of look into it. You could Google intranasal ballooning. Put that into Google search, intranasal ballooning, Massachusetts. But no, I don't have anyone on the craniofacial release website that's in Massachusetts. I can definitely send a quick message to a few people, but yeah, it is kind of it's not everyone does it, unfortunately. It's not like chiropractic where you find a chiropractor in every corner.
Yeah, and so one of my things was since Tuong is really cool and he thinks a lot like us, I was actually going to invite him to come to one of our healing retreats. If you can't come to this one, it's cool, but I would love for you to come and to actually offer your ballooning services to those who come. That way they can experience it for themselves. And so that way you guys can get exposure. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do this one, but I already had prior commitments. If I'd known earlier, I was excited, man. I was like, I'm going to do it.
I know, right?
She's like, we have something going on that day. I'm like, oh.
You should tell, can you just change it to later?
No, it's like I said, it's an organization that it's a chiropractic thing that I'm really proponent. We're fighting to keep chiropractic alive, so it's for a purpose. Okay. Anyways,
I gave up on that fight a while ago.
yeah. It's just
I actually still have a company called ChiroSynergy, which was basically to do that, to save chiropractic. But then there's like a lot of infighting going on in chiropractic. So I was like, you know what? I'll work with holistic healers that get the vision versus trying to unite people that don't want to unite anyway. So
cool. I could tell you that every profession has infighting. Let's talk to Les. Les, to answer your question, Les asks, I can understand it could help with people with health issues, but what would it do for people, healthy people? I can't. I hope I don't offend you with this answer, but most of the time when someone says, "Oh, I'm healthy," I'm like, "You're not healthy." You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you're healthy? Another way I can do it. The best thing I can tell people is like dental care. I know my teeth are clean. I know I don't have cavities, but I love getting my teeth clean anyways. I think resetting your doing craniofacial release to like I said, it was done on babies and newborns, okay, just to help them breathe. I think it stimulates a reset button. Your body is like a computer or car. It needs to be resetted. I believe everyone has had some kind of head trauma, some kind of dental issues, like even anything to throw off the cranium. I believe it's going to be amazing. I believe it'll help you sleep better. I believe it'll help you everyone, even the health people, like, man, I slept or walked at night because they're sleeping more. Your breathing is so underrated. I can tell people that. I would love. I think I do it to anyone. I fully 100% believe everyone should get it done. I hope the presentation earlier explained it. I'm like, don't you want your brain resetted?
Right. Want to get better?
Yeah.
Don't you want to be better? Don't love yourself.
I hope that answers your question, Les. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think it would make you more healthy. If I'm already eating healthy, if I'm healthy, I would love to keep eating broccoli and kale to make myself continue to stay healthy. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And like being healthy means like doing repetitively the behaviors that help induce a healthy lifestyle and a healthy body. So that doesn't mean I go to the gym one time in my whole life and I expect to have a six-pack. It doesn't work that way. Same thing with your brain, same thing with your body.
Well, even if I was the healthiest person in the world, I would just keep on maintaining that because, I mean, all the pollution, everything that goes to us, I'm like, I have good air, but I still bought an air filter to just get better air, But yeah. Les asked how much it costs. Les, everyone charges differently. I'm pretty reasonable. I know doctors that charge $15,000 for a series. I know. I personally, I tell people like, I don't just do craniofacial release for people. I add in adjustments as well. I find it next to impossible to just do CFR by itself. I do chiropractic on top of that. And then a lot of times people need nutrition as well. I look at the body as a whole. But yeah, typically a visit can range. It can range, like I'm not saying that it's the fair cost, between $100 to $300, depending on how complicated you are. And usually
you're cheap compared to most.
Mm-hmm.
Relative.
Yeah. Well,
I've seen people that charge several thousands. Yeah.
Well, the best way we can explain is like, how much did your dad pay? And
Yeah,
did he
good
get
question,
anything out of
actually.
it? Did he get anything
Yeah.
out of it? Like
I don't know how much did you pay?
you don't have to ask
That's a good
that.
question.
You don't have to answer that. That's kind of personal. But I'm guarantee you, I can tell you, in my world, a CT scan costs about a couple $1,000s, and he said he
Yeah,
had a
that's
few
true.
of those. So like, well, but yeah. So Les, and it also depends on how many you need. Generally, like let's say I'm like, hey, I think you need this many treatments. I'm like, hey, it'll cost like this much, but if you pay it all at once, I'll give you a better deal. You know, I try to make it affordable and stuff. I'm not trying to break everyone's bank, but I also want to let you guys know I pay like the seminar costs $5,000 a weekend to learn. So
Yeah.
it's not cheap to learn.
So
Yeah.
because Gabriel asked, I'm not gonna tell you how much I pay, but I will tell you that I did my research, and the average, I find out that it was around $1,500.
Mhm.
Some more, somewhere a little bit less. It all depends on the part of the country that you live in. It's not gonna cost the same in California, New York, Florida, South Carolina, or Kentucky. So.
Or in Mexico.
Yes, or in Mexico. So, but you know, where we live, the average was around $1,500 for the whole treatment.
Yeah. And it was well worth it, I'm sure, because it sounded like it was well worth it for you.
Yeah, in my case, I can't complain. You know.
Oh, yes. You should have paid that first initially.
Yeah, it would be much cheaper. Yeah.
Come to San Jose for 1 week, I got you. And way cheaper than the Mayo Clinic. Cool.
I think pretty much
Hope I
anything's
answered your
cheaper than the Mayo
question,
Clinic at that point.
Yeah, hope that answered your question, Les. Everyone's completely different, you know, and every provider is different, you know, and everyone's rent's different. Did anyone else have any questions?
I think Jeff had a funny joke he was laughing about. Putting you on the spot, Jeff.
No. That was April laughing. That was April laughing. So she's watching some YouTube right now. She's cracking up.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah. Hey, Dr. T, how are you doing?
Hey, it's so good to see your face, man.
Really? Here you go.
Yeah, no,
better?
I'm just saying, I
Is that
talked
better?
to
Is that better?
Jeff called me, and I'm like, he asked me
He's seeing all the
Jeff, what's going
misalignments
on?
right now when you're showing him
Yeah,
your face.
see my palate?
You have your deviated septum, and you got all this other stuff going.
Well, your
I'm just
teeth
kidding.
look great. Have you ever had braces?
Okay, so first of all, Gabriel told his dad about this. I called his dad, and his dad just raved about this thing and said, "Give it a shot." He actually showed me the website, which is where I found you.
Yeah.
And so I called Dr. T about this, and we talked for what, 2.5, 3 hours or
My
something.
phone died at 2 a.m.
So the first time I called
Overdid
him, he
a
had a
little bit
line
there.
of patients. No, he had a line of patients waiting, and he goes like, "I got to call this guy back." And so in between patients, he called me, and then he stayed on the phone with me for like half an hour, 45 minutes. And it's like he had a line of patients waiting for his ass. And it's like he just was totally giving me all this love, which said, okay, this guy is willing to give me this kind of love. He's definitely somebody who cares more about healing people than money. He cares more about helping than he cares about business. And that's the kind of doctor I want to be treated by. And then he called me back later that night, and we got to bullshitting about 1,000 different things as far as CFR, but also a bunch of different things. And to me, that just really spoke highly. And so this is not just saying it to you, Mr. T, but to everybody in the group and everybody's listening. This gentleman over here spent a lot of time with me, talking to me, teaching me, sharing, reassuring me, because I had fears just like everybody else. And so I want to come and see the guy, definitely. But, about a week and a half ago, my dad died, and so I've been a little preoccupied. So I've been dealing with that stuff. That's why I haven't got back in touch with you. So to let you know, yes, I had braces. I had those same teeth coming out over here when I was little. And I sucked my thumb until I was 11. So I was pushing up like that until I was 11, and I just, all kinds of problems. I had to have my wisdom teeth removed because they were growing in sideways. Everything's been jacked up. I have a badly deviated septum. I literally, every time I breathe, my nose closes on this side. So yeah, it's like everything you taught me today and everything you've explained to me, I definitely want to move forward with doing this. So how about this? How about I shoot over your house right now? You do it to me right now on camera.
Okay.
And you can show it to everybody.
That'd be fun.
I
Start driving,
might be able
Jeff.
to do that, yeah. But I mean, not to like, I hope you don't mind. I can see from here that your left nose is smaller than your right nose. And then, the braces, like, it's a dead giveaway. You can see that. You guys ever see that left nose? So that usually means, obviously, deviated septum, as we saw in one of the pictures. And when
Yeah, in
babies
fact,
are...
the medical doctors actually want to do surgery, but I won't let them.
Yeah, babies are sucking their thumbs because they're pushing and they're really trying to do what Dr. Mirsky did, which is intracranial adjustment. Because they're like, God, this feels so good because my brain has so much pressure. They're trying to push the pressure up, you know. So I'm glad that was informative. I'm glad you confirmed about the braces. I'm glad you told about the teeth and everything. And I wish if only the medical and dental world knew what we knew now, like, oh my God, we need to stop doing all these bad things, you know.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, I've also been having a major problem with hormones, as I talked to you about. I'm not too shy to talk about that, but my testosterone level you should be in between 250 and 1,000 as a man my age. And most men from the time of puberty till they hit like 70 should be in that range. Well, I am like 211, so I'm under, which is having all kinds of detrimental effects. That's my wife, by the way. I'm having all kinds of detrimental effects for that, as you can imagine. Some of which is I don't sleep well, I am not motivated, I just feel like sitting around, I've gained a ton of weight. And this all started about 4 years ago for me. Just like Dad did, I was stepping out of a boat and I had a bill of a hat on, and I stepped up and smashed my head so bad it hurt my neck, made my ears ring. I had to sit down. I felt dizzy. I've never smacked my head that hard before, and it hurt. I had a headache for about a week for that one. And since then, I've been struggling with headaches. Well, I have a headache right now. I've been struggling with headaches weekly. So I'm kind of excited to give this a shot.
You're like the lady that has her toes pointing out of her feet. Remember the picture I showed you? Your brain just wants to expand. And the other thing too is you're a cool guy. I don't spend a lot of time with patients, but people that usually call for CFR, they're like at their last leg, like Jeff and Jose. They're like, oh my God, I'm about to kill myself. I'm not like, please don't take that literally. But some people are like, hey, I'm about to kill myself. I have this headache forever. You know, and it's just like, you know.
Well, sometimes it can be literal, though, because like TMJ can get so bad that people literally commit suicide because of the pain is so bad.
You know, now that Jeff mentioned the headache, one of the complaints, now when I went to the chiropractor, you know, I remember that not only that my brain felt like that was getting crushed with the skull, but also I had headache, also like Jeff said, for a week straight, day and night, and it wouldn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
didn't matter how much pills I took, just kept on.
Yeah.
And the hormones, you say that your hormones were at around 200.
Yeah, I'm about 211 right now, which is
mine
250 is minimum.
Mine dropped to 70.
Wow, that is low.
You know, so
yeah, that can actually turn your pee-pee into an innie.
The audience.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, I love how the saddest part is people go through their whole entire lives with these issues and they think no one could help them. The popping pills are actually destroying their gut and liver, and I can't live with that. You know, I know a lot of close family and friends that like, I'm like, hey, we could help, and they're just like, no way, I won't put a balloon in my nose. I'm like, it's a tiny balloon. Really
and this is the reason why I wanted you to come to this, and this is why I'm so happy you agreed to, because this forum has ability to go out to hundreds of thousands of people through YouTube and Facebook and all these other places. So I'm so happy you came, and just to give you some encouragement and to give you some reassurance, you're staying up late, you know, only get a couple hours of sleep to do this slideshow was worth it. It was great. I was not sleeping at all. No more than normal anyways, but I was not sleeping. It wasn't boring. You didn't just have a bunch of medical stuff. You had stories and pictures and ideas, and you mixed it all together in a way that was very fluid, and it was very well done. So I definitely want to be encouraging to you, and I want you to say, damn, I nailed it, because you did, brother.
Thank you.
You did. And we got it on camera. That's the important part.
I actually took away 20 other slides. I'm like, there's no way that they're going to comprehend this. I'm like, they're going to fall asleep. This is like, this is not this for like, it was like, because, you know, we geek out. I'm like, I was going to get to like the science of it. I'm like, they're not going to like it. Let's just get to like, hey, this is pituitary. It's right there. Like, it shifts it. Done.
You did good. Be encouraged. Please be encouraged. You really did well. And now I have even more faith in you after watching this. So, and I had a lot into you just because, you know, the guy you were and how much time and love you gave it to me. Now that I've seen this, it's like I definitely want to move forward, you know. So you're hired. I want to come see you. I got to set up an appointment. So,
I'm ready.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, I'll message you after this. I know. Let's put your phone number online. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
What
go
is
ahead. I don't care.
Yeah, let's do
I don't
it.
care.
No.
I don't care.
You're on YouTube Live. Let's do it.
Yeah,
All right,
What's your
my
social
phone
security
number
number
is-
again?
Yeah, it's I don't care.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3,
It's a
4,
business
5.
line. Yeah, my phone number is 510-331 suck me.
So they're gonna do it. Yeah. Well, it was fantastic. If you guys, anyone have any more questions? I love to answer. I so much love and support. I really appreciate Gabriel, Jeff, Jose. That was amazing. Flora for doing whatever she's doing in the background. I gotta tell you, tech support was like I called Gabriel. I'm like, I need to make sure the voice works. I need to make sure the PowerPoint works. It's yeah. And so does anyone have any other questions?
We aim to please.
Yeah, I do.
We aim to please.
I actually do have a question for you. Being one of the providers that come on here and actually give the presentations, it's important that you give a realistic view. How was the experience working with this group and Gabriel so far?
You guys felt like family.
Do you really?
I'm sure when I see both of you guys, I'm gonna give you a hug, like, you know, like it's
Yeah.
no handshake. There's no handshakes here. I'm like, hey, let me give you a hug. Yeah, sorry, Les, I couldn't answer your question better. I know you wanted better answers, but I hope I answered your question, Les. But yeah, I mean, I talked to you for like 4 hours. I'm sure, you know. I think I should have screenshot it. Well, you talked for long, but yeah, you know, it's just really sad. Like I said, the classic case is Jose and Jeff's story. You guys go through all this trauma your whole entire life, psychologically, mentally. I know that's a really bad problem. We and like what Gabe was saying, we learn in chiropractic school that people do commit suicide because of unresolved back pain, unresolved neck pain, unresolved snoring, unresolved jaw pain. It's got to kill you to think like there's something wrong with me, and no Mayo Clinic, no neurosurgeon, no whatever can do anything about it. You know, it's really
they just say it's genetic, and it's total bullshit because it doesn't resonate with my soul that it's genetic.
Yeah.
Because, you know, since you've been talking about this, I've been trying to sense, and, you know, I definitely am having a hard time breathing in here. So, you know, we got to move forward with this. I got to see, and you'll go come back in here in a couple of weeks, and I'll be able to give you my or
you know, I want to just go back to what I just said about like the medical doctors. I love medical doctors. There's nothing wrong with them, but I just wish they would like understand what chiropractors do. Like, look, we have spent $100,000 doing this CAT scan, Jose. Let's send him to a chiropractor, you know, like give it a shot, you know, or like let's stop giving Jeff all these painkillers or whatever, or CPAP. There's a better way to like live. There's a better way to sleep than with, I call it a Darth Vader mask. You know, you shouldn't have to do that. It's, I mean,
well, you know, so as far as CPAP, you know, I definitely breathe through my nose, you know, so I don't have to wear it here, so it's kind of nice, but. You know, it's funny, you know, like in the morning, you know, when you wake up with nasty breath in your mouth, you know, I go to my wife and I just open my mouth and the machine blows through my nose, out my mouth, and she can smell my mouth. It's great. It's like I just hiss at it.
Close your mouth, Jeff, and walk 2 blocks back and forth without opening your mouth.
I can't. I can't.
Then you're not breathing through your nose.
No, I'm not.
You're like the water pump that has a small hose, but you need a bigger hose. You know, it's there, but
yeah. My wife says something like that in the bedroom too, but never mind about that.
Yeah.
She says, "Jeff, you need more hose."
Yeah, basically what I was saying. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Jeff, one thing that I'm going to add, I went to get that cranial facial release just because of all the problems that I had, but one of the side effects of getting that done also is that I can breathe better through my nose, because in the spring I usually, you know, years ago I used to had to be on some type of allergy nasal spray because you know, as soon as the spring came, you know, like I couldn't breathe through my nose. And now I'm not saying that the allergies, you know, that I am not immune to allergies. Of course I'm not. But I don't have to rely on these nasal sprays to breathe through my nose. It never gets to that point where I can't breathe through my nose.
I actually can really help a lot of people with allergies. I think if you need to take allergy meds, there's something wrong with you. It could be a liver thing on top of that, some liver detoxing cleanse. But more CFR, I've always helped.
So how often should we do CFR after you have the initial? How often should you repeat it?
You know, everyone's different, Jeff. You might be different versus Les, who's super healthy over there. It could be different. Jose's gonna be different. Everyone's gonna be different. Gabriel's different. I gotta look at those images and see how bad the deviated septum is. And you know, every day we come in like, hey, let's look at those levels, man. Let's go do the blood test again. Let's go see what's going on. Like, are you happy? Jeff, is she happy? You know what I mean? Like, let's see what's going on. Like, are you able to walk down the block with your mouth closed? You know, we have to do all these tests. It's like a car. Hey, how many times do I need this? Is my car done? Like, let me test drive it first, right? We got to test drive the truck to see if it actually works, you know? So
Makes sense.
It's hard, brother. You know, it's just like a car, brother.
All right, Gabriel, you had a question?
Yeah, so before we go ahead and close, because I know Dr. Chong says he's got to go, but speaking of, you know, the nasal cavity, my dad was talking about nasal sprays. I'm a big fan of neti pots. Do you know what that is, Dr. T?
I 100% want to tell you guys right now, I didn't put that. I don't recommend, sorry, I'm here. I don't recommend a neti pot. The neti pot has given me an ear infection. So I can just put it out there. Yeah, so you have a sinus infection or some boogers here. You put your neti pot here. You tweak your neck, bad chiropractor. You go in here. The water goes out here. You cause an infection. It's happened to me before. Guess what? Ear infections are not fun. I recommend what we call, you guys can't see it. It's called Nasopir. You can look it up. I make no money off anything today. No Nasopir. I don't make money off James Chester. I make nothing. But Nasopir is the most gentlest thing ever. Can you guys see it? Nasopir looks like that.
So what is that exactly?
It's a saline solution. It's just like
saline solution. It's
just like a neti pot, except they're very formula. It's done by ENT. Basically, your head is neutral, if not forward a little bit, and it cleans the nose like that. This cannot clean the nose because it can clean the nose, but it can go out the ear as well, which, by the way, you don't want water in your ears. I had ear infection before. Doctor says, don't ever put water in your ears. Don't do it. Don't use neti pot. I can put my money on that. There's even
interesting.
Yeah. There's also Medineal, which is neutral head motion. Once again, chiropractic, neutral head motion. People have actually come into me like this. And they're like, hey, doc, I'm like, what's going on? Oh, I used a neti pot last night. And they're stuck with that, right?
Right. So it sounds like they're not using it right. The way I use it is actually very different. Like I have them supine, and so they fill their nasal cavities, and then they get up and they blow their nose. So they're always in that neutral position.
You're still going to get it to your ear.
But afterwards, even if it does get in the ear, it doesn't matter because we use nanosilver as a nebulizer. I don't know if you know what nanosilver is, but it's basically...
That right here.
You do? Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
and you practitioner I've ever heard that actually has
$50 a little bottle like that.
It's expensive, yeah. But if you do a little bit in a nebulizer, it gets rid of all the stuff in your nasal passage.
Sure. So, like, what this is an at-home thing. So, yeah, you're supervising them. You're doing that. I think that's fantastic. This thing is $15. Anyone could do it anywhere. And it's like I said. I think the whole supine thing is great. I'm glad you're doing it, and I love silver. I spray silver up my nose every day, and cool. I recommend it. Anti-COVID story. Oh, I shouldn't even say that. Who knows? Anyways,
don't tell anybody. We need them to keep getting shot up.
We're going down
these injections.
And by the way, Nasopir has a book out, and anytime you clean your nose with salt water, it's antiviral, proven scientifically, antibacteria, hint, 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 scientifically proven by medical doctor. So I recommend that every day for you guys. Yeah, if you're good with neti pot, go for it. But this is still going to get down the tube of the ear, you know. So this is more safe. Like I said, I know you said about the silver, but not everyone could afford silver. You know that. And not everyone. It was really hard for me to get that silver, nano silver.
Yeah, it's getting increasingly hard. You have to basically make your own. But that's a whole nother talk we always come back around to. That stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
But actually, I'll give a quick shout out to nano silver. Like I recently ate something that basically made me sick, and there was another girl that basically ate the same thing. She is still sick, and she's going to the medical doctors, and she's still sick. They gave her a bunch of antibiotics and stuff. But literally, my dad told me, he said, take nano silver, literally drink just a little bit. I did like a teaspoon. Mm-hmm. And he said it happened to some other girl, and then within 2 hours she was fine. And literally to the letter, like 2 hours after I drank that little bit of nanosilver, I was fine. So shout out to my dad there. So that was a good recommendation.
So first off, when I do the balloons, and most people at CFR does, we put regular colloidal silver on it. But yeah, if someone's we use regular silver on it. And if someone's really sick, like hey, I have XYZ condition, I'll put the nano silver drop on them and put a balloon in their nose and get that thing all the way back there.
I like that.
Yeah. Not my first rodeo.
Yeah, there you go. So you know. Awesome.
Yeah, oh yeah. We're all about the silver.
Right? Yeah. It just works. If it works, it works. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. T, for coming on.
Thank you guys.
And for sharing your wisdom. It'd be cool to do a part 2 sometime in the future so we can geek out some more. And thank you, everyone, for your questions. Thank you for everyone on the live stream, everybody that hopped on here. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week for a Throwback Thinking Thursdays of a previous time. And then we're gearing up for the retreat coming up soon, November 11th through 14th. So make sure to come on down and actually experience the things we talk about. Don't just be about this, be about actually experiencing it so that you know and you can share your own stories. So thank you again, everyone, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
All right. Bye, Dr. P.
Bye, Jeff.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Are we all hanging up, Gabe?
No, you guys can stay. Let me just make sure that Flora turns off the live stream. I'll be